Yo, what is up? We have found, we all, collectively, we have all found We Like the Blazers. I am, in fact, Brandon Goldner. Over there is, in fact, Ryan Whitledge. Ryan, what's up, brother?
Not much. We're testing out new technology. It took just us testing out new technology for you to absolutely blow the intro. I love it. If anything freezes or sounds like crap, it's not our fault.
It probably is my fault. I'm in a different room. I have a weird microphone thing. It's probably still bouncy. We're using StreamYard. Shout out to Rogue Media Network for letting us use this incredible technology that we hope to take advantage of. Ryan, this does mean that we can have live streams, we can have guests, we can have comments, we can have questions, we can do fun stuff when the next season starts. But until then, we have off-season stuff to talk about. Ryan, let's start chronologically for our dear Portland Trail Blazers. Actually, before we do that, I'm sorry, man. I'm jumping so far ahead. How are you? That's what actually matters in this. Come on.
I'm great, and I'm just loving
I just blew right through the whole.
You're trying to speed run this podcast. You're like, look, man, we got 45 minutes of content. We're gonna shove it into a 10-minute span right now.
Let's go. Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm good. Are you guys unpacked? You settled in? You figured everything out?
Mostly. Most things are unpacked. This room in particular is still a bit of a fright, but we're getting there. We need, I think we need one computer desk and we're done. We feel very comfortable. The cats are comfortable. We're ready for you and Sonia to come and visit us because this will be the room that you stay in fact, the podcast studio.
Hey, that'll make podcasting easy.
Yeah, we'll just wake you up while I'm podcasting and be like, why is he in our room? But no, things are good. Yeah, feeling settled, have gotten to explore New Haven, which is an incredibly cool town. Lots of good food, stuff is walkable. The biking leaves something to be desired. It's definitely a bit of a, if you're going to get on your bike and get on these roads, East Coast driving, Ryan, is not like West Coast driving at all.
No, it is not.
It's very different. Interstate driving is very different. I was actually, quick anecdote, and then I want to hear from you, but I was on the interstate, speed limit 65. So I'm doing 73 in the second to left lane. So not even the passing lane. And this dude comes up and he must have been doing 90, 95, maybe 100 miles an hour. And I mean, he almost clipped my car. And I was just like, wow. And then that happened like the next day. And then it happened like the day after that. Like it's quite, I like driving. Usually I feel like I'm a good driver. I'm a confident driver. It's a little scary out there. So yeah, everyone in Connecticut, just chill out, please.
He's just a baby East Coaster. You can't go at him so hard.
I don't understand. I'm going over the speed limit. I'm not in the passing lane. So I'm learning. Even the semi trucks, Ryan, the semi trucks were passing me on the right. It's really unbelievable. I don't know.
Everybody's in a hurry to get to where the traffic is so they can wait. That's
apparently the cops. Yeah, there's no police presence to deal with any of this, I guess, or maybe they're doing something else. Anyway, yeah.
I'm gonna laugh if you get a ticket for like dangerous driving because you're not keeping up with the crowd.
I think it's yes. I'm trying to go with the flow of traffic, but then you'll have these outliers that are just totally. It's something you'd see in Oregon maybe like once a year or whatever, like maybe once every couple months, and it's just every day. Mm-hmm. There's someone going just insane. Anyway, yeah. How are you?
Nice. I'm fine. My house is no longer a sauna. We've crossed the AC and heating thing replacement, and so I'm now looking for a 7th job. If anyone, I was
gonna say your wallet being somewhat lighter at this point.
Oh God! And it was funny because we got like 2 or 3 different bids, and each one was getting like progressively more and more. And I'm like, I will not spend that much money. And we spent that much money, but at least with this one, like we went through Costco. And Costco, I mean, I'm not going to be able to take this off my roof and drive it back to return it, but it at least has the Costco backing and they have great customer service and all that stuff. And the benefit, I might be able to get a 2-for-1 special out of this because the cash back on this that I get, they'll send me an actual direct Costco shopper card for it for like 10% of the purchase. And we're in the market for a new fridge and freezer. So if I can turn this into a brand new AC and new fridge and freezer all in one purchase, that'll make me feel a little bit better.
And then the Whitledge family is getting an ice plunge next. All of the things to keep cool. No, that's fair. Good on you. Yeah, I'm very thankful that actually the apartment building that we are in did not have this problem, but the next building over that's a part of the same complex, their AC went out throughout the whole building, and I stepped in there and I was like, oh dear, because it's not just the heat, it's the humidity that gets you, Ryan. Anyways, I'm very thankful for the air conditioning in the apartment, and I'm jealous that you have it at your home, because when we go back to Portland, we will not have that. But Ryan,
I can forward you a couple bids.
Okay. Yeah. So oh God. Anyway, so many things cost money nowadays. Just everything is a cost. Speaking of how am I going to do this? Entities that want to stay cool? Question mark. The Blazers staying cool.
I'll allow it.
By making a chill trade. We're going to go. So, by the way, spoiler alert, there was an NBA draft. The Blazers participated. There's been an NBA offseason. The Blazers have mostly not participated. However, we do want to go through in semi-chronological order the things that the Blazers have done, because we find them interesting, and we think that you will too. Starting right before the draft, the Blazers shipping in small forward Denny Avdia, coming in, the 23-year-old 6'9" wing from the Washington Wizards, who had a pretty, what you call a breakout season last year, getting some sixth man of the year or most improved player ballot voting, excuse me. The Blazers shipping out Malcolm Brogdon, shipping out the 14th pick in this year's draft, shipping out the second most favorable of the 3 picks they have in 2029. I may not even be alive then, Ryan. And I think a pair of second round picks to bring back Denny Avdia, who is on the league's most team friendly contract. He is under contract for the next 3 years in a descending contract that I think goes something like 16, 14, $11 million for someone who is now like reaching the point in his career where he's looking like a sub all-star at a position of need. Ryan, what, besides not being able to pronounce Denny Avdia, which is totally fair, what is your opinion about this trade? Do you have an opinion about this trade?
I do and I don't. So great opinion to have right there. It was definitely one of those things where when the news came out, I was like, who? And then, am I supposed to be excited? And immediately just do a quick stats check. All right, looks promising. And when I removed myself from it, for one, it's weird because I think I had Malcolm Brogdon valued a little more than this in my head, but I totally understand the need and the fit that the Blazers brought back. I am also leaving myself open to, in 2029, completely shitting on this trade, because I think that when it says the most favorable, the Blazers have a pick coming from, or second most favorable. The Blazers will have their own pick because their obligation to Chicago will be fulfilled by then. They'll have a first round pick coming from the Celtics, and then the Milwaukee Bucks pick, who, when the Damian Lillard trade went down, we were all projecting like, oh, well, they'll be this far in, and how good would the Bucks actually be? So some of those like high value picks that we were hoping on that would turn into something great down the road, we've already now shipped one of them out. And so again, when you stand back and you look at this is a position of need for a young guy on a cheaper contract and testing out technology.
I love this. This is great.
On a cheaper contract. And he's established. For
the people not watching on video, I put a ticker up that says nobody cares about picks in 2029, Ryan. Sorry.
Anyway, and he's established. You've already seen what he can do. So would you rather take that, or would you rather, with either the 7th or the 14th pick, take a flyer and hope somebody develops into the kind of player that he is? So in this case, it does make sense in spending that 14th pick to get the established version of what you would have already drafted.
In a position of need, someone who's younger than Dalton Connect is, who was, everyone's so happy that the Lakers got Dalton Connect in the draft. This dude's, Denny Avdia, still 23. And, also let's remember too, the Blazers in this move were able to duck the tax, which, for better or worse was important.
Well, you
To
don't want
keep
to be
the
the third worst team in the league and being a tax-paying team. That's
No, definitely not. No, exactly. So that's part of it too. And, in a position of league wide need, right? Like everyone loves stretchy 6'9" wings. So yeah, I feel like it's hard to have any qualms about this. Also, Ryan, I remember a podcast with two handsome gentlemen that aired last week on a little feed I like to call We Like the Blazers that did not include me, that did include you and Steve DeWald. Ryan, what is it that Steve said about the draft?
a lot of things. It was the
So
whole
one,
episode.
yeah,
We spoke about the draft in the whole
I know
episode.
that was a bullshit question. I'm sorry. We clearly didn't prep. One of the things that Steve said to you was he would be happy if the Blazers divested as many of their picks as possible if they got out of this draft as much as they possibly could. Spoiler alert, they also didn't use any of the second round picks that they had this year, instead opting to collect them in future years. So the Blazers only had one pick in this draft, and Steve DeWald's, fever dream came true, right? So, I mean, we also have to say good job, because this is not a good draft. That's the point, Ryan. Like, Joe Cronin and Mike Schmitz and their other staff, whose names I should probably know or whatever, I don't know. Like, a lot of people doing good work behind the scenes identified this draft as one where they didn't really want to invest a lot into it, and they didn't, and that's good too, right? So,
Yeah. And the other thing too is Advia, right? It's going to take me a while, guys.
Avdia.
Avdia. Okay, there we go.
AVD, other letters.
I feel as though the Blazers are...
AVDIJA.
I make jokes about like we were close to getting an all white person lineup, an all center lineup, an all point guard lineup. Eventually, it's going to be the lineup of nobody's name who I can pronounce. But
it's actually
he also,
just don't look at it, just hear it. Avdia.
Yeah.
Great. I can say just
Avdia.
don't read it. That's what's going to throw us off.
As I'm looking at notes, you're telling me not to read.
Don't
but
read
he's
it.
got
Don't
he's
read
got
it.
a weird contract is one of the things too, and it's
right.
He's got
weird as in good.
He signed a 4-year, $55 million rookie extension, which you're like, oh crap, a lot of money. But typically you're like, okay, that'll start low and work its way up high. He's got the reverse. So I think, can't remember what he's making coming up this next season. Oh, sorry. He's making $15.6 million this year, $13.1 million after that, 11.9 as it ends. And that's going to be as the salary cap is going up.
Yes. Thank you. That's gonna be like one at the end of that contract. That's gonna be like 1/15 of the salary cap for someone that the Blazers are projecting and hoping is like, again, a sub all-star level wing who's already playing at like a solid starter level, showing improvement. He's 23 years old. Blah 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 blah. Right? Like, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
And
what's the deal with not giving Joe Cronin credit?
And a lot of the pundits too, it's like if you go back and look at some of their draft analysis or pre-draft analysis of the year he was drafted, he was very high. He was considered a sleeper, and again, even with his, getting some MIP.
Mike Schmitz called him the steal of the draft when he was drafted before Schmitz was with the Blazers.
By the way, at this point, all of my draft prep is just going to be going through Mike Schmitz's
that's
Twitter
all you have
feed
to do.
From 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
It's like when Neil Olshey kept signing people that he had drafted with the Clippers or like wanted to draft or wanted to sign when he was in LA, and he like kept bringing them back to Portland. Yeah. And hey, that's fine. Mike Schmitz had a very good track record when he was with ESPN. He's had a good track record so far with the Blazers. Obviously, he's going to be judged most harshly on whether Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson pan out. But yeah, like, I trust his judgment. And when the grades came in from every corner of these great United States, I saw the grades for this trade: B+, A-, B+, A plus, A-, B+. One person from ESPN, whose name is now escaping me, said that the Blazers had the steal of draft day by making this trade. So, good stuff. I mean, credit where it's due. This is a good trade.
And so then we entered the actual draft, and I don't feel as though there was, God bless ESPN, in trying to make it dramatic or hyped up, because in a draft where
They
no
do.
one
They
was
do try.
really
They try.
no one was really all that excited about it. I mean, I was at a 1080 the fan draft broadcast party thing, and it was literally as it was happening and they're doing their radio show, it almost felt as though watching it happen on the TV screen was just it happening in the background.
Yeah.
A lot of it did come down to obviously Blazers drafted Clingan at 7. I want to say that the room was pretty split on a yay or nay for that. I was in the nay originally, but at that point in time, I hadn't done much digging around on the player we had just traded for, Avdia, and was that right? Did I get
You
it?
did
I'm gonna
it.
roll with
Yeah,
it.
I'm so proud.
Yay! I didn't read it. You're right.
Very
Okay.
proud.
So in the player we just traded for an Avdia, and with it being Klingon and Cody Williams still on the board, I was really wanting Cody Williams at that point, just because of what I think Cody Williams would have meant for the future of the team. And drafting Klingan, I was like, crap, that means that Aiton's probably going to be the first to go over Anthony Simons. That's kind of like my initial like work through and my process on it.
Yeah.
Joe Cronin later on in a post draft press conference, which I love those because those seem a little more raw. I guess you're more likely to slip up and let some behind the scenes secrets or thought process slip through in some of your answers, but later on,
Secrets.
he kind of assuaged my concerns by mentioning that they need to build around Scoot and Shaden. There was no
Right.
mention of Anthony Simons, so
No.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So, but in this, I expect Klingan. He's gonna immediately probably bolster the defense. He will be a great guy to pair next to Scoot and Shaden and Avdia. And now it's just kind of the Blazers need to figure out, and we'll get into this as we talk a little bit more about trades on, who they want to ship out and how much runway they want to give this young core that's now very obviously developing. What were
Yeah.
your thoughts?
I actually didn't have strong opinions one way or the other. Like that Futurama bit where there's two political parties and they're both saying, I have no strong feelings one way or the other. Like, I didn't know a lot about Donovan Clingan. I mean, I heard that maybe he was being considered by Atlanta as the top pick, and that there were other teams that maybe would have had interest in him, and that he didn't think that he was going to maybe fall as far as he did. I mean, I believe Cronin and Schmitz when they say that he was like really high on their board. I do think there's a little bit of pause we should take. For as much as I heard you talk about it, I not so much, but and other people saying that Zach Edey, oh, you can't pick Zach Edey. He's a stiff. He's a slow center. Ryan, which player did the worst in the combine agility drills?
I believe it was Klingan, wasn't it?
I believe it was Clingan. So that's worrisome that if you're going to have someone who is like, he's very tall, he's very long, he's got big hands, got a great wingspan, and all that stuff translates to the NBA. However, there's a world in which it's just like, well, this dude was just huge and he wasn't super mobile, and he has like theoretically the ability to shoot. Like, I think he was a shooter in high school and maybe just wasn't given the opportunity to shoot in the system that they had at UConn as they won 2 consecutive championships, and good on them for that. But so I don't know, man. Like, I'm going to firmly be undecided. Like, again, I trust that whatever Joe Cronin and Mike Schmitz sees in this guy, and again, like other people who graded the Blazers said it was a great pick, I'm going to have to trust that, but I don't have a strong opinion about it.
Can I give you a little bit of pushback on the Zach Edey being the most agile center than, posting those numbers in the combine? He had that label, and this is one of the things where I wish people, and this goes across all sports, I think the NBA and NFL are the only two that really do a combine, but players know their weaknesses when they come into those things, and them and their agents hyper focus on addressing those weaknesses, not necessarily addressing them like fixing them, but making sure that there's a good showing. And Zach Edey, all through the NCAA tournament, had comments and the narrative around him of that he is a stiff, he does lack lateral movements, and this, that, and the other. And so I feel as though post collegiate, when he declares for the draft, it's nothing but we need to get you to look good in the combine to assuage any of these concerns that GMs that want to draft you might have. So there is a little bit of the, I still don't necessarily want to compare like those Klingan and Edie's like measurables, because I do think to some degree a lot of them could be a flash in the pan kind of thing. And it is then up to the scouts to figure out who's putting on a show and who's not, but still.
I hear what you're saying. And also, I don't think that someone like Donovan Clingan is going to like not try hard because he doesn't think he has to. Like, I don't know.
No, I know it's, and I wasn't trying to insinuate that he's not trying hard. I mean, he could still have legit things he has to work on, but it was more in line of Zach Edey of make sure that you look like you can move side to side.
But yeah, yes, I guess, yeah, it's such a. I don't want to get all hot takey with you because the point that you're making is a nuanced one, and I feel you. It's like, hey, if someone is being told by their camp before you go into the combine, focus on this, and someone else isn't, then maybe the guy who's being told you've really got to perform well, you got to disperse all of the skepticism that people have about your mobility. That maybe Zach Edey, like, it's like Kevin Love playing defense on Steph Curry for that one possession in the finals, right? That version of Kevin Love is like a defensive player of the year candidate, but he did it once, right? So maybe you're right.
Image
okay,
lives
fine.
in our head forever now. Yeah.
Kevin Love, who actually just signed a 2-year contract with the Miami Heat, even though Kevin Love is 1,000 years old. Get your money, big man. Pat Riley continuing to do nothing to help Jimmy Butler in his waning prime, but this show's not about the Heat. So, okay, yeah, I don't know. Like, so short answer, I talk a lot. I'm wait and see on Donovan Clingan. I like the theory of someone who's really big, defensive-minded, can anchor a defense. I like that. I also think that's kind of what people thought Ayton was going to be when he entered the league, and he has not been that, even though he's been very good. So just to loop back to the point before we continue on, what do you think this selecting Donovan Clingan, a center, means for DeAndre Ayton in the short term?
In the short term, I will say that before free agency started, and we've kind of seen some dominoes that are falling so far, I would have said that he is definitely on number one on the list to most likely be traded before like early season, like maybe a month or two in, see how Klingan's doing and like, some live fire actual NBA games. And then you can go ahead and work, like set up a trade that, early in the season, get some language going now. Now I'd probably be willing to bet a sandwich that he may not even make the roster come the start of this year, that he'll already be traded off at this point in time. So, but I do think it does make his tenure here shorter significantly. And
That's
again,
fair.
that was part of the reason why I was concerned with them drafting him, because I would have rather Ant's tenure be here shorter than Ayton's, but whatever.
You do see this league-wide shift, though, back towards centers, and it wasn't Wembanyama single-handedly forcing that shift. But for example, like, I'm not sure if we see players like Cody Zeller and Mason Plumlee at the points that those centers are in their career getting contracts the way that they have. I think Zeller going to Utah and Plumlee going to Phoenix, which is funny because him and Yusuf Nurkic will have something to talk about, having been traded for each other.
Yeah, you think that's going to be an awkward locker room at all? Like,
probably.
Nurk is going to be like, so now you're here to take my job? Really?
I mean, Mason Plumlee has always had a lower ceiling and has always been more consistent in the role in which he's been asked to play. So, whatever. But like, I do think that we're seeing a shift in the NBA towards centers good. And if we're going into centers good, then perhaps having Ayton and Clingan at the same time isn't the worst thing in the world, right? Like, if the meta of the NBA, the schemes that teams run, the rosters they build, if that necessitates having lots of tall people, then maybe it's good that as Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson and player unknown from next year's draft are developing, that they have tall people to play with, because that's like the meta of the NBA. So I actually hadn't thought about that until now, but all of my best ideas are totally unformed and unplanned. But
Off the cuff.
that's
So
off the cuff. That's my
before
thought.
our last little bit about the draft, and I mean this with all sincerity, do you understand anything that frickin' happened in the second round for the Blazers? I
Yeah,
was
I mean,
confused
yeah,
as F about that.
in
They
like,
traded all their picks. They traded all
yep,
their second round picks. They got more future second round picks. But I
yep.
swear to God, trying to keep up with that news, which by the way, split the draft into 2 days. That's one thing. Split the draft into 2 days and have day 2 be in the middle of the frickin' afternoon.
Not for
That is
me.
just stupid. Not for you.
East
Yes,
Coast
welcome to the
supremacy,
East Coast
sucker.
media bias. The East Coast media bias. You're
Oh,
like,
you
great. This is perfect
pathetic little
timing.
West Coasters. Look, as a lifelong East Coaster, Ryan, as someone who drives very quickly on the freeway, no, I don't know. Like, it was like, I didn't understand it in the moment because the reporting about this stuff is pretty confusing. When the dust settled, yeah, it made sense. They punted on this draft, which again, smart people like Steve DeWald was like, the Blazers ought to punt on this draft because there's not a lot of talent in it, and that's exactly what the Blazers did. By the way, the Blazers, this is kind of leaking into the next piece, but when they re-signed Delano Banton, the Blazers now have their 15 regular roster spots set. So they didn't want to spend a second round pick because they thought Delano Banton would be better than what those people could be. And you know what? That's probably right. So, that's fine with me. Like, I will say this. Do you have any opinions about the 55th pick of the 2024 NBA draft?
Oh my God. Yeah, my opinion
I don't even have to
is
say
that
it.
in any other draft, nobody would have as many opinions as they have about the one in this draft, and it is mind-numbingly stupid. I swear to God, I can't escape Instagram. My sports part of it was everything on freaking Twitter when it happened. Oh my God, father-son duo. Like, I get it, that is cool, but it would be nice if the son was an actual decent basketball player. If it was anybody
he's
else,
not.
if it was anybody else, even in this crappy of a draft, he would have gone undrafted. But by God, the Lakers, he was there for him still. I love that Rich Paul, by the way, was coming out beforehand and
he's going to go to Australia.
Not to take him. Do not take him at all with pick 45 down. Otherwise, he'll go to Australia. Good. I'll put him on the boat and ship him there myself just so I never have to hear about it again. And by the way, probably the best bit of information or anything to have come out of this is the fact that LeBron James's wife, so Bronny's mom, retweeted
Savannah,
and
right?
retweeted. Yeah, Savannah retweeted and retweeted. Isn't the right word. She screenshotted, I think, the tweet of somebody that said it and put it on her Instagram and laughed. But somebody had said it's going to be really awkward when one teammate realizes their other teammate is fucking their mom. And the lady in question of that entire premise screenshotted that with laughy face emojis and put it on, which that is
good for her.
That's the best thing. It's good for
I
her.
agree.
Yes,
yeah,
that's the
good
best
for her.
bit of news. It's the only discourse that I have enjoyed about it. Everything else, knock it off. Stop talking about it. Nobody gives a fuck.
One more thing. The most annoying discourse about this was Adrian Wojnarowski going on television.
Oh, the nepotism
literally
rant?
being, you know what? There's so much other nepotism. You know what, Adrian? We don't like any of the other nepotism either. So let's cool it. Yeah, it's nepotism.
Oh,
let's call it what it is.
Can
I
counter with you? I do not recall you having an issue when Damian Lamont Ollie Lillard got his cousin a roster spot with playing time.
I am fairly certain I made fun of that. I'm pretty sure that I did. So whatever. And the same way that I make fun of Thanasis being on the Bucks for 5 consecutive years. Shout out to the Antetokounmpo family.
I think his brothers on his
yeah,
teammates?
I think they are. Anyways, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Blazers. So, okay, so there we go. So the Blazers, they get Donovan Clingan at 7, traded the 14th pick in part to get Denny Avdia. Great. Traded out of the second round completely for future picks. Great. They re-signed, as I said earlier, re-signed Delano Banton to a regular contract. Great. And the Blazers have now also, I believe today, they signed Justin Minaya to a 2-way deal. He's been on the team the last couple seasons, bouncing between the Big Club and the Rip City Remix. So shout out to him. It is. I'm unclear on how many. I think the Blazers can add two more two-way deals. They have 15 regular spots. Manaya is a two-way deal. I think you're allowed to have three, so they can have up to 18 players with three of them being two-way deals. You're nodding your head, so I assume that
Yeah,
you are. Yeah.
there was a temporary COVID rule that then when they went back to their first actual full season, that was rescinded, but the teams actually liked it. It was so popular that then the following year they made that a permanent change. So
Okay, fair enough. So there's that. And then, Ryan, can we quickly tick through, unless you have any more on that, some like other kind of around the NBA news and just do a couple quick hits and then call it a day, or how are you feeling?
sure. So right off the bat, we've had some Blazer centric rumors. For by the way, for one, free agency starting when it did, totally off guard. I am normally on that like freaking white on rice. No, I scroll on the internet and somebody was like, I just saw like 1 hour till the craziness, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Already? I
totally.
forgot that they, extended that, moratorium period or kind of changed the rules. I still think everybody's effing tampering. I mean,
No,
you
yeah,
you
I mean
heard
they
a rumor,
are.
you heard a rumor that LeBron James had called Klay Thompson the minute that it opened, but whatever. Um,
Players
anyways, but
can't tamper,
Blazers
Ryan.
players, agents, and teams can all tamper, according to the NBA. But rumors, Jeremy Grant might be available. This is a substantiated, unsubstantiated report. Anthony Irwin, who is a local Lakers beat reporter, I believe,
Yep,
he's been saying that the Lakers have been in discussions with the Blazers about Jeremy Grant, and
I can believe it.
yeah, and that they're
I don't know what
interested.
the Lakers would have to
It
offer.
says they're willing to trade 2 first round picks in the transaction, as well.
Do
So
they
there's
have two
that.
first round picks?
That was my
I
first
guess so.
question. I
Yeah.
cannot verify if they have them. As I made a joke before we started recording, if they don't, I'm sure they will connive somebody into giving them 1st round picks for absolutely
Adam
nothing that they will
Silver
then send to
will
us.
open up his secret box of draft picks and create one for them. He will create a 61st pick in order for the Lakers to get an extra first round pick. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
One of the reasons that has just always been like in talks so far is that there were other dominoes that people were waiting to fall. Obviously, Paul George, who went and signed to the Sixers. I'm glad he is now on his fourth
Yep.
team in a decade in which he will say that he wants to retire there. Congratulations to him.
Moving
There was
also
also
like moving from one superstar who can't play in the playoffs to another superstar who can't play in the playoffs. Like, have fun, Paul.
trust the process. Also, the other big domino was Klay Thompson. Breaking up the Splash Brothers. They were waiting to see where he goes. I actually think the Mavs are a really good fit for him. I'm amazed at the number of years and money that they gave him, but I actually think that is a really good move to have, Kyrie, Luca, and Clay. That as a very, very deadly trio
I
of
like,
guards right there.
yeah, the theory of Clay, but I don't know the reality of Clay and the theory of Clay at this point. It's the same thing with Chris Paul to the Spurs, where it's oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna be. But I mean, these dudes are like they're either fully washed or like washed adjacent. I mean, did we forget
Mm-hmm.
that Clay Thompson went 0 for 10 in his last game as a Warrior? Like 0 points. I don't know, man. Like it's just yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. But
I like it. I like the theory of it.
yeah, so there were those dominoes to fall. So now that the Lakers, which is funny to watch them now continuously miss out on some of these big names, maybe Jeremy Grant might get into desperation mode. The Blazers would, in this case, find themselves in a position of power and leverage in those negotiations. Um, there's also been, which I'm pretty sure this could possibly be off the table, but there's been some rumors and mumblings about Matisse Thybulle and the Mavericks. I don't think that's necessarily in the works anymore. I think the Mavs are pretty much near approaching the first apron after this Klay Thompson deal.
Yeah.
Um, but there are also some rumors that you're hearing out there about now interest in Aiton. And so we'll just kind of see where it goes. I mean, it was a very awkward, slow start to NBA free agency. You are definitely seeing leagues be a lot more conscious of this whole first, second apron thing. And so it's funny that they're probably going to turn around and use the aprons as excuses for why they couldn't be better when they
Well,
had to put the
thank you.
handcuffs on themselves.
I wanted a couple hits around the NBA stuff to that point that you just made. The Clippers released a statement before Paul George signed with the Sixers.
So weird.
So weird. They released a statement, and in that statement, they mentioned the apron like 3 different. Oh, we wish Paul the best, but geez, this new CBA in the apron makes it blah 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 blah. And it's like very very fucking strange. Also, like, what's
It wasn't
the point?
whole reason that they didn't want to, or they didn't want to give him a 4th year, but he wanted a 4th year? Wasn't that the entire
Yeah.
argument of that contract?
And they're trying to line up the end of Kawhi's contract at the end of Paul George's. But listen, Steve Ballmer, you're opening up a new arena. You sent out Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and 1,000 picks to get Paul George. You're really going to let 1 year get in the way of you retaining him? Because what is their team now? They signed Derrick Jones Jr. away from the Mavs. Good on you for that. But what are the Clippers now? What are they? Like, why? That one was really weird. I don't know.
They're a team that will play in an arena that will have a lot of toilets. And I don't know if you know how expensive toilets
Flushing
are.
Meadows.
But okay. Do you know of this press conference that I'm talking about where he was
giving a tour? He was like
God,
bragging about how many people can piss at the same time or something. I don't know.
Yes, it was fantastic. One of my favorite. Steve Ballmer press conferences are just great. But yeah, that was so weird.
We like Steve Ballmer. Come and buy the Blazers too. You know,
I think as of today, he officially passed Bill Gates. So now he is 6th richest man in the world. So he could have afforded Paul George.
buy the Blazers immediately. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Are you allowed to own 2 teams?
Probably not. But like in the same vein of teams trying to, not pay a bunch of money, the Denver Nuggets, who last offseason lost key players that helped them win a championship, now lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is joining the Magic. And yo, Denver, hello, you won the title, lost some players, were slightly worse this year, couldn't really manage through the regular season because you didn't have enough rotation players. You lost someone now even more important than any of the players you lost the year before. So, I don't know what the Nuggets are doing, and I don't know if I'm Nikola Jokic, how I feel about that. But again, maybe that's the pressure of the apron, We talked about Kevin Love, talked about Chris Paul. Oh, really quick on Chris Paul, are you buying into Chris Paul is going to get 1,000 assists because he's playing with Wemby? I don't know.
Yes. I actually, the minute that the Chris Paul news broke, I was already texting with a couple buddies about NBA free agency stuff, and the minute that I screenshotted over that graphic to let him know, hey, isn't this hilarious that it's just walk for nothing? I was like, I don't know why, but Chris Paul to the Spurs just makes sense. And then 3 hours later, I was like, okay. Apparently, I wasn't the only one that thought that.
Huh. Interesting.
The team that confuses me the most with what the hell they're doing is the Pelicans. I don't fully understand whatever thought process they're bump the desk. What thought process they're going through, and now they are one of the teams that's rumored to be looking for a center now that they let Jonas Valanciunas go, and allegedly Brandon Ingram is on the trading block, and so for some reason there's a real possibility that we could be you could be doing a Brandon Ingram and DeAndre Ayton centered trade. Would that be something that would interest you at this point in, he's 26 years old. He is young, but youngish.
That's really interesting. Probably not. I
was going to say, in this case, you would assume that it would be a lineup of Scoot, Shaden, damn it, I already forgot.
Avdia.
Avdia. I don't know why I want to pronounce that.
Just call him Denny. That's fine.
Avdia. There we go. Denny.
Just call him Denny.
There you go. I'm going to call him IHOP. No.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, so Denny and then Ingram and Clingan. I don't know. It sounds like an interesting lineup. It sounds like a lineup that makes a hell of a lot more sense than anything the Blazers have rolled out in years.
The Pelicans probably don't have any interest in that. But it is true. They traded for Dejounte Murray from the Hawks, right? And so obviously, to your point, Brandon Ingram, he's got to go somewhere because it's probably not going to be on the Pelicans. I'm assuming the Pelicans are going to want more from Ingram, given his age, he looks good on paper, but always seems to not have the same impact by the eye test as he does on paper. So I don't know. Maybe other teams are wise to that. Who knows?
Yeah. Other kind of big NBA news, which we'll go through. I cannot believe that in the Clippers, especially with letting Paul George go, somehow we're convinced by James Harden to agree to a 2-year, $70 million deal with
Get your money.
which I believe year 2 player option. So just prepare yourself for James Harden part 97 for his usual season angst. And then kind of Blazer centric, Nicholas Batum found a new home. Well, no, not new home again. He's going back to the Clippers. So that boy really loves himself some LA. Drew Eubanks joining Utah. Makes sense. Super white, pasty guy joining the
Very
Utah
white.
Jazz.
Absolutely just the whitest.
Derek
Did
Jones
we
Jr.
mention-
going down to the...
Sorry.
Which one?
No, Hartenstein to the Thunder. Which, by the way,
I missed that news.
Oh yeah.
Poor
So
New
Knicks
Poor New
lose
York.
Isaiah Hartenstein, and the Thunder are the recipients of his services, and they really needed rebounding.
that
And
is
guess what? They got some rebounding. Yeah.
That is an extremely reflective Twin Towers
I
that they will run out there. That's
I agree.
also a lot of white.
It is, but a lot of competent white, as the case may be. I mean, the Thunder, boy, what they are so. I am so jealous of how that franchise is being run. They were really good last year.
9 million first-round picks.
God, yeah, really good last year. They're going to be better this year. Maybe not by the win total, but they'll be better in talent. And to your point, they have 7 trillion picks. Anything else in free agency, or is that how are we feeling?
Yes, I have some extremely happy free agency breaking Blazers news, if I can bring it to you.
Okay, breaking news. I love it.
Today will
What is
be
it?
a day that goes down in Blazers history as far as news goes. That is because as of today, Andrew Nicholson's contract is finally off the books.
Woo!
We have finally off the Allen Crabbe trade. But as
Finally.
of 12 o'clock this morning, the Andrew Nicholson contract is off the books, which I do find ironic because happy Bobby Bonilla Day to you, kind sir.
Same thing, but baseball adjacent.
Yeah, Bobby Bonilla was given a contract extension for 30 years at $1 million a year, and he is not played baseball in about, I want to say 15 to 20 years or something like that, and he is still collecting $1 million a year. So it is Bobby Bonilla Day. So on Bobby Bonilla Day, Andrew Nicholson's contract finally off the books.
Well, there we go. The mistakes of the past being softly erased as the sands of time shift gently. And that'll do it for this
Days of Our Lives are going to sue you.
Look, sometimes the metaphors are great and sometimes they are awful. Actually, before we break, anything else that you wanted to get to or how you feeling?
No. I got nothing.
I'm doing that Midwestern thing where I lean back and I slap my knees and I go, well, that means we're done. If you want to reach out to us, you can always do that at WeLikeTheBlazers.com. You can always find us on Twitter as well at LikeTheBlazers, or me at GoldenPDX, or him at The Witty Ryan. And you can also find our other amazing podcasts that are part of the Rogue Media Network and part of the Blazers Edge family of podcasts. That would be the Rip City Roundtable with Corey Dickman and Trail Daddy with Dave Deckard. We appreciate you all. Thank you all so much for bearing with us with a new technology, new place, new time zone, new everything, but same old Blazers, hopefully with some more optimism going into next year. But until next time, I appreciate you. I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. Thank you, and go Blazers.
Go Blazers.